Hey guys, the Mention Master Studios here. How y'all doing? So I'm sure as you guys know, when it comes to Ninjago, next year we are getting the brand new series for Ninjago, and at the same time, a lot of fans are wondering what exactly is going to happen when it comes to this new series, partially due to Crystallize and where it left the season, and how a lot of fans really didn't like what happened when it came to the ending of Crystallize, and honestly, I'm definitely with these fans. I really didn't like the way that Crystallize ended, and honestly, I'm not sure how the next series for Ninjago is going to end up going. But in today's video, I wanted to talk about some ideas as to where the storyline could potentially end up going as a result of Crystallize, and potentially some ideas for the future. Now, obviously, if you do like Crystallize, that is perfectly fine. I just want to present some ideas that I have as to where things can end up going as a result of Crystallize, because again, me and a lot of other fans really didn't like how Crystallized ended up going, and I feel like with some of these things, it could end up salvaging some stuff from Crystallized. So let's get into this whole thing. So let's start off with the big things first. Harumi. Here's the first thing that I feel should happen when it comes to Harumi in the next series. Have Harumi face consequences for her actions. This is something that we never get during the final two episodes of Crystallize. The most that we ever get when it comes to this is the original four ninja giving Harumi an angry look and the police commissioner being seen next to Harumi during the rebuilding of the monastery, and that is a purely speculative thing. And that's it. That is all the consequences that Harumi ends up facing when it comes to her actions. And honestly, I definitely think that Harumi should end up facing consequences for her actions as a result of everything that she's done over her time during the show, especially during Crystallize. And I'm not sure if when it comes to the police commissioner being near Harumi, if that sort of detail was something that was intentional or unintentional. But either way, I think it's something that the new series should roll with, and Harumi should definitely be in jail during the next era of the show. So that way, again, she ends up facing consequences for her actions that she did throughout seasons 8 and 9 and during Crystallize. I feel like that would honestly be a good way for them to handle that. At the same time, here's something else. Don't have Harumi be a good guy. Something that I and a few other fans have noticed when it comes to Harumi's redemption during Part 2 of Crystallized is that this really isn't even a redemption for Harumi. Like, yeah, Harumi ends up fighting against the Overlord, but she's not fighting against the Overlord because she feels bad about what she's done or because she realizes what she's doing is wrong or that she had a change of heart or anything. She's doing it purely because the Overlord reveals that he's the one who corrupted the Great Devourer, and that's it. And this ends up ignoring some big reasons as to why Harumi actually became a villain in the first place. And something that I and a few other fans have also suggested is the idea that when it comes to Harumi, she didn't actually become a good guy. Since again, her redemption basically boils down to her blaming someone else for her problems, and that's it. Plus, at the same time, when it comes to Harumi, we never see her apologize or show any signs of sympathy or remorse for her actions for everything that she's done throughout her time in the show. And it's possible that when it comes to Harumi, she's just pulling another Season 8 and is pretending to be a good guy. That, I honestly think, makes a lot more sense when it comes to her character than her all of a sudden being a good guy at the end of the season, because again, she got mad at someone else. And honestly, I think keeping Harumi as a villain would actually be a good way for them to handle things when it comes to the storyline. Finally, one last thing that I want to bring up when it comes to Harumi, and this is by far the number one thing that I don't want to see happen when it comes to the future of Ninjago. Don't have Lloyd and Harumi get together. One of the biggest issues that I have when it comes to Crystallize is how this season takes Lloyd's arc of him getting over Harumi and moving on from her and does a lot of things to undo the arc. Not entirely, because there isn't a forced romance between Lloyd and Harumi at the end of the season, plus again, we don't have Harumi apologizing to Lloyd or seeing Lloyd forgive Harumi. And when it comes to these, I feel like these are once again some things that the writers should end up rolling with when it comes to the future. I don't think that Lloyd and Harumi should end up getting together, because that would end up making the past 3 years of character development that Lloyd went through basically pointless. Plus, at the same time, I don't think it would be a good idea for Lloyd to once again end up in this toxic and abusive relationship with his sister. Because, yeah, remember, Harumi is Lloyd's sister. Garmadon adopted her during the Season 9 episode 2 Lies, 1 Truth, making her his daughter and, by extension, Lloyd's sister. So, yeah, these two are related to each other. And so, again, I really don't think it would be a good idea for Lloyd and Harumi to get together in the future. I think that would be a really bad idea, and again, that would end up completely going against all of Lloyd's character development that he's gone through during the Wild Rain era of the show. And again, it would be a really bad idea. Moving on from the Harumi stuff, because otherwise we're gonna be here for a while, let's talk about Nia. One thing that I feel should happen when it comes to Nia in the future is we should get some more stuff with her not having her powers. One issue that I have when it comes to Crystallize is that when it comes to Nia, she ends up coming back without any powers, but she really isn't able to do all that much without her powers. And this is seen a lot during part 2, especially when it comes to the mechanic. He fixates on this idea that Nia can't do anything without her powers and how she's not a real hero. And the thing is, the show doesn't do anything to prove him wrong. Nia, all throughout part 2, is shown not being capable of doing anything against the Overlord and his forces, to the point that Okino is the one who ends up defeating the mechanic in the end, not Nia. And I think it would be a good idea for them to actually have Nia doing some more stuff without her powers. Maybe keeping her a Samurai X for a season or maybe 2 could actually be a good idea, and we could get a chance to see Nia being able to do this stuff without her powers, showing that you don't need powers in order to do these great and amazing things. That could be a really good story. Especially since part 1 of Crystallize did set up this idea, so we could end up seeing some kind of proper conclusion to this in the future. That could be nice. Speaking of Ninja, let's talk about Zane. Another thing that I feel the future of Ninjago should end up doing at some point is revisiting the Ice Emperor. This is something that fans have been demanding for years, basically ever since Season 11 ended. Considering that when it comes to Zane, we don't really see him go through anything as a result of him being the Ice Emperor. Like, we don't really have him reflecting on his actions and what he went through as the Ice Emperor with him being Vex's pawn, essentially. We never get that. The closest that we ever get to that sort of thing is during the episode Return of the Ice Emperor during Crystallized, and during that episode, the Ice Emperor shows up for part of that episode, and he's turned into a joke for the episode, and that's pretty much it. And I feel like at some point going forward, they should end up revisiting the Ice Emperor at some point, and maybe having Zane just process everything that he's gone through. And once again, when it comes to Crystallize, they do actually have some setup for this, mainly with Zane turning back on his emotions during the episode The Benefit of Grief. I feel like if they were able to explore this more when it comes to the season or in a future storyline, that could be something really cool when it comes to Zane. Again, just seeing some more stuff with him as the Ice Emperor. That could be nice. Another thing that I feel the future of Ninjago should end up doing is explaining more stuff when it comes to Oni power. Crystallize presents this really different take on Oni power than what we saw during the trilogy. Mainly because during Crystallize, it ends up presenting this idea that when it comes to the Oni, they are just bad guys and how they can't care or feel for anything. While at the same time presenting the idea that dragons are purely the good guys and how they can't be evil or anything, with basically no middleman or wiggle room in between. And I think that is honestly really strange considering what we see during the Oni trilogy with Mistake. She was a full-blooded Oni, yet despite that, she was still a good person and did care about Ninjago and the people. And so I think something that the future should end up doing is maybe explaining some more stuff when it comes to the Oni and the Oni power, and showing some more stuff of Oni who are good guys. We see a little bit of this during Crystallize with Garmadon, with him actively trying to change and become a better person, and I feel like if we got a chance to see some more of this in the future, that could be something pretty interesting. They could even do some more stuff to expand on Lloyd's Oni form, and maybe even doing some stuff when it comes to Lloyd tapping more into his Oni side, and maybe even accepting that this is a part of him, and he's going to have to use that power at some point. That could be a really interesting story to see. Another thing that I feel the future of Ninjago should end up doing at some point is having a final defeat for the Overlord. Something that's left up in the air when it comes to Crystallize is whether or not the Overlord's actually defeated, because this is something that isn't really clear. Yes, we see him be defeated by Lloyd and the Golden Dragon during episode 30, but as to whether or not he's actually destroyed, that's not entirely clear. Plus, not to mention, Crystallize suggests that when it comes to the Overlord, no matter what happens, he's always going to keep on coming back. And so I think giving him some kind of proper defeat at some point in the future, that would be something nice to see. Plus, at the same time, we would end up getting the prophecy of the Green Ninja finally being fulfilled. Because remember, the prophecy states that the Green Ninja will defeat the Dark Lord. And during Crystallize, once again, we don't really get that. It's really more the Golden Dragon that ends up defeating the Overlord, not Lloyd. So by having Lloyd and the Overlord engage in one final battle at some point, with the Overlord being destroyed once and for all, and potentially having Lloyd become the balance, that I think could be a really nice way for them to put an end to the Overlord once and for all, and find a way to actually fulfill the prophecy of the Green Ninja. Again, that would be something really nice. Finally, one last thing that I want to bring up, and this is a lot more of a personal thing when it comes to everything, but I still just want to bring it up. I really want to see Akita make a return at some point in the show, and this is for a few reasons. For one, Akita is one of my favorite characters in the entirety of the show, and I really want to see her be brought back. Two, if you guys have seen my review for Crystallize, then you know that my biggest issue with the season is the way that they handle Ice Chapter related stuff during the season, and how overall I really didn't think it was that good. So this could be a nice way for them to sort of just do something when it comes to that. And third, there's some interesting stuff that they can end up doing by bringing Akita back. Ideally, if Akita was brought back, we could end up getting a more proper conclusion to Lloyd's story arc. Again, something that Crystallize ended up doing was taking Lloyd's arc of him getting over Harumi and moving on from her, and did a lot of stuff to undo that arc. But again, not completely. There is still some chance that they can end up doing something in order to continue along with this arc in some way. And I have a feeling that potentially by bringing Akita back, it could be a way for them to actually give a proper conclusion to this storyline. Considering how Akita was able to help out Lloyd during the events of Season 11, we could see some kind of similar thing going on here. Maybe potentially if Harumi is still a villain, Akita could once again end up helping Lloyd going through a lot of this stuff, and she and potentially the other ninja could help Lloyd realize that him fixating on the idea of Harumi changing, becoming a better person, that sort of idea isn't healthy and it's only going to end up leading to bad things happening to him. And it's an idea that he has to move on and let go of. We already saw a little bit of this during Prime Empire, and with this, it could be a way for us to again see more of this end up happening, and again, it would be a nice way for them to properly conclude the storyline. They could theoretically even do some more stuff in order to expand on Lloyd and Akita's relationship that we saw during the event until the Ice chapter, because the two of them already have an absolutely amazing dynamic during that season, and seeing more of it in the future is something that I would absolutely love to see. Plus, at the same time, there is some ideas suggesting that Akita is going to show up again at some point when it comes to the future. There was Akita's final line that she said at the end of the Ice chapter, with her saying how she thinks that she's going to see Lloyd again, and the line never is a very long time, which to me suggests that she is going to be showing up again at some point. Plus, at the same time, Chris Wyatt, one of the writers for Ninjago, has actually expressed interest in the idea of having non-human species show up more when it comes to Ninjago. And with Akita being a formling, this could be something really, really interesting to see at some point. And honestly, I'm gonna remain optimistic and hopeful when it comes to this whole situation. Again, Akita is one of my favorite characters when it comes to the show, and I would love seeing her finally return after all this time. That would be amazing. However, one thing that I do have to bring up, because I know someone's going to say this down in the comment section, there is no time difference between the Neverrealm and Ninjago. Tommy Andreasen, the co-creator of the show, has confirmed multiple times on Twitter that there is no time difference. Time flows at the exact same rate. And the reason why there's all this weird time stuff is because Zane was sent back in time when Asphira sent him to the Neverrealm. I already made an entire video talking about this, so please go check that out if you want more information. And so that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So tell me down below, what do you guys think? What are your guys' thoughts when it comes to the potential future of Ninjago? Again, tell me down below, and I hope you guys enjoy. Later, guys. This is Dimension Master Studios, signing off.